Now to Decision 2020. Several experts say that the road to the White House runs right through Detroit, and it is here. The stop is here. The first group of candidates faced off at the Fox Theater last night.
Yes, and a major topic was health care, with more than 45 minutes dedicated to it. Listen to Senator Bernie Sanders respond to a claim by John Delaney that health care for all is bad.
You're wrong. Right now, we have a dysfunctional health care system. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Congressman Delaney.
The plans of both Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were labeled as being out of touch or too progressive by some.
If we embrace a far-left agenda, they're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. If we embrace a conservative agenda, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. So let's just stand up for the right policy, go out there and defend it. That's the policy I'm putting forward, not because I think...
The city of Detroit and the Flint water crisis was also touched on during the night. The Republican National Committee sending out a statement after the debate.
So it reads in part, quote, Democrat candidates put their out-of-touch priorities on full display as workers and industries thrive under President Trump's winning economic policies here in Michigan and across the country. Voters will choose 4 more years of this great American comeback rather than allow Democrats to take us backward.
Now, when the debate ended, the attacks didn't stop there.
Well, let's get to Nick Monticelli. He caught up with some of the candidates just moments after the debate in that chaotic, as you described it, spin room with all of the media from across the country. Good morning.
Good morning. Shoulder to shoulder. It was pretty chaotic in there. That's a good way to describe it. You talked about them continuing their conversation, some of them defending themselves in that spin room. But we also had an opportunity to continue some conversations about Michigan, those that came up on the stage earlier last night.
Oh, say, can you see?
Since 1928, the historic Fox Theater has played host to silent movies, comedians, and the biggest names in music. But Tuesday night was the closest the theater has ever come to hosting a prize fight.
Second of all,
You don't know that,
second
Bernie.
of all,
We'll come to you in a second,
I do know,
Congressman.
and I wrote the damn bill.
I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
You can't just spring a plan on the world and expect it to succeed.
An all-out slugfest on stage as presidential hopefuls turn the Motor City into a political battleground in the race for the White House.
So that's Evrod Cassimy giving us kind of a highlight of the Fox and what was happening in last night's debate. So we did have the opportunity to talk to many of the candidates. Senator Amy Klobuchar talking about Michigan specifically and what she thinks needs to be done in order to win back Michigan for the Democrats. She says it's a boots on the ground kind of thing, knocking on doors, going into neighborhoods and getting back the Democratic vote for the Democrats. We also talked to Marianne Williamson, who she brought up Grosse Pointe in relation to Flint yesterday. She said she lived in Grosse Pointe at one time, and a community like that, a community with money, would never stand for something like that. And she equated that to a larger racial divide and economic divide, something that they wanted to highlight. And what was really interesting, too, and Evrod Run, I think you may have picked up on this yesterday watching the debate, many people were waiting to see some kind of sparring, if there would be any, between Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren. They were hoping to see if they would clash. None of that happened. I asked the Senator Warren afterwards, what's the difference? How can voters choose between you? And she said right now there is no point of differentiating. They want them to just go with the Democratic ticket for now, and they'll figure out who that's going to be later.
Well, and you heard in her opening remarks, Elizabeth Warren, she talked about, you know, this unity and supporting whomever gets that nomination. So clearly they don't want to bicker. They want to show mutual support for each other. They said they've been friends for years.
Exactly.
So.
Nick Monticelli reporting live for us.
So we're going to turn our attention now over to Jason Carr, who joins us now in studio, and let's talk about the social media reaction this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. There are also sorts of angles. Overnight, we asked our Facebook fans, what do you think? Who won the debate? And the question took off. So far, we have more than 100 comments. Let's take a look at just a few of those. First of all, Carl says every time the Democrats open their mouths, Trump wins. To that, Linda adds Elizabeth Warren as the winner. Dawn says Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, I would support them right now for president and vice president. Glenda Reynolds Becker, Warren, although I hate to say it, Delaney Bullock. So we also caught up with voters at a watch party at the Anchor Bar, and here are some of their sound bites.
So far, I feel like a lot of people are trying to sugarcoat and cater to what the people want to hear. And so I've been doing the research on candidates to see if what they're speaking about today, have they already been doing years prior.
So you're fact checking?
Yes.
I'm more like what Elizabeth Warren is saying, but I like that Bernie is staying in the fight and like being detailed and honest and calling people on it.
Especially as a millennial, it's good to be able to be in the midst and hear the conversation and hear the very things that are impacting not just the older people when they're talking about the Medicare for all, but even I'm waiting to hear about the education piece. I'm waiting to hear about how they're going to pay our student loans, how they're going to help us get rid of that, because that is a very big burden that we in this generation are having right now.
Student loan debt. Coming up in just a few minutes, I'll be joined by political experts to see who they think won round one. And don't forget, round two tonight. Back to you.